Good evening, travelers of the night. Welcome back to The Stranger, where the immersion of an audio drama meets the chaos and uncertainty that is Dungeons & Dragons. Today, we're joined by Ari as Esperanza.
Ready to go onward and upward into the road of recovery? Let's do it.
Asteria as Dr. Isidora Glass.
You know, I'm here. Some days, my presence is a present.
Matt as Inquisitor Nihilus von Stonen.
Het is hier in Keenstone. Gegroet, beste kijker.
And Shane as Trevor the Heartless.
He is a genuine guy of Orsine bloodline. When he finds void, it's mine, all mine.
There are no guests today. It's just us and our story. So without further ado, let's begin. Under the cloak of a misty dawn, you stand at the crooked crest of an abandoned hill. Your eyes fixed on the twisted silhouette of a locked metal fence, rusted and bent as time has oppressively waned it. To your side, the jagged base of the towering mountain that holds the citadel, its peak obscured by low-hanging clouds. And beyond that fence, you know to be the salt mines, where the earth beneath was carved by humanoid hands. The skeletal trees around you, they rustle and clink like chandeliers as they blow in the wind. And in fact, the air hangs heavy with the taste of salt. As the first light struggles to pierce the fog, a chill not only in the air, but anticipation as you hear the clatter of a metal object hanging on a crooked sign on that fence. Here, as the threshold to the salt mines, Dr. Glass, in your curiosity, being at the front of the group and making your way to this sign, the first thing you notice is that metal object clanging against it. It's the damaged, scraped mask that belonged to Abigail.
That's perhaps encouraging. We know that Abigail and Vander got out. I suppose we shouldn't be disturbed to see her mask discarded. Yes, it was. We know it was broken. Hopefully, if we could run into them here, that would be quite a boon. Can't think of anyone better to help guide us here. I wish we could contact them. If I could just access the Nexus a little bit better. I've been working on it.
The way that this mask is just laying here, would it be a boon for us or a boon for them if we were to find each other again? I worry.
Yes, it's... One cannot but worry.
We could think about it a little more optimistically, right? The fact that it's even here means whoever had it, I mean, it could have been Abigail. we could think of it a little more positively, right? Like it's a little breadcrumb trail, maybe.
I mean, we know that they got out, so we take it.
Wait.
What?
Before you take it, before anyone touches it, please let me examine it. Perhaps with luck, I can find their location to the details. From his pouch, he starts to grab his Inquisitor's magnifying lens. He bends down closer towards the mask, and using the lens, he tries to understand, even magically so, where the last person is that last touched this object using the item.
And technically, how does that work?
He, being Nihilus, has to roll an insight check, matching DC 13 plus the number of days since last contact occurred.
Can I give him bardic inspiration, since I'm very interested in this as well?
Yes. The DC is a 14.
A bardic for 2 and a natural 1 for a total of 11.
You take your magnifying glass and put it up to this mask, and you see hand marks on it, a map of how it's been handled. You see the mask was hung here, perhaps intentionally, and you see footprints that begin to lead away down this hill, but they stop. The trail runs cold. You're not able to track it. But as you investigate this mask and as you push it to the side, you, Nihilus, see the sign reads, "Beyond this point lies abandon. Do not enter, lest you become part of the silence that reigns below."
Well, that's a bit florid.
What is it?
The bad news is I have no idea where they are. The good news is we can stay optimistic, like the way Trevor has said.
Well, I mean, they certainly had time to make a pretty-looking sign. Probably could have been a little more specific, maybe. I mean, I was never really afraid of silence, so, you just got to talk at it and it goes away, right?
Does it really stop us from where we need to go either way?
It does not.
There's a chance, just to warn you all, that there's something quite literal about that. In which case, a lot of my powers won't work in there if we are silenced. Nihilus. You're able to summon little beasts that fly and run errands, aren't you?
That's not really nice to call them like that, is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. What should I call them?
Oh, yes. The name is Areculius Noctiforior.
Areculius Noctiforior.
Areculius Noctiforior.
My head hurts.
Yeah.
Areculii. May I call them Areculii for short? Plural.
That's not their name. You would have to ask them, not me.
Well, isn't it scientific? It's like species and genus.
They're still people.
From the Noctiforior family, but
Little critters.
your little critters.
Now they're all speaking weird.
I don't think they would like it very much if you call it upon like that, but they are allies to be called upon.
Your allies. Could you call upon one of your allies to deliver a letter to? You see, I'm still worried about our hunter friend whom Esper saw, and I'd love to write a letter and make it appear that it is being sent from Blackthorn University, as though we actually have gone to Hypatia's house. Could your ally bring it there and put it in the mail?
They want me to summon one right now.
Well, that was the question I was gearing up to ask before we sort of got tripped up on the nomenclature.
The thing is, I used my last bit of charcoal, and also I don't have a brazier with me at the current moment. As soon as we find one, the Argulios Noctiforior is all yours.
I don't think my mouth can make this noise.
Call him like Billy or Bob or something like that.
All right, but let me know the moment that you can, because I'd rather throw him off the scent and assure him that Hypatia was telling him the truth so he doesn't kill her.
Nihilus, you lift the latch on the gate and push it open. It wobbles, rickety, as it opens and clangs against one of the trees. And you see a path. The weeds have overgrown it, you see. It's very seldom used nowadays. But there's signs that there have recently been footsteps. Even with your passive investigation, you can see where the weeds have been obstructed, have been ripped and walked through. And as you observe what is likely Vander's old footsteps, Dr. Glass, you see something. It's like at the last second, because where that hill crests downward, it's almost as if you saw the headlamp and yellow miner's helmet look towards you, turn, and walk away. It's in your peripherals, and then it's gone. Down that path.
In a way that it could actually be a person, not like a hallucination of something that disappears.
Well, that's a good question. Would you roll insight? We'll make that a DC of 10.
I cannot fail, depending on how you feel about a nat one. 14.
Dr. Glass, you of all people have a unique connection to the minds and world around you. And you can hear the presence of those in your vicinity. You can feel the waves in the psychic lake that exists around you. And there was no wave being cast by this figure.
There's someone down here.
Bad things?
I don't know. It seems like a miner, which obviously there's no miners, so
It can't be Vander.
it very well could be. Should I do my usual invisibility and speak into his mind, or?
How's the general lighting in here?
The clouds are thick in the sky today, and although you are at the crest of morning where the sun would shine through, it's still gloomy and gray. As the fence clatters open, and as that visage disappears from your peripherals, Dr. Glass, you take these shallow footsteps down what is a jagged and wet, muddy hill. And as a group, as you make your way to that same crest where you saw this image disappear, you see that the land where this path possibly used to traverse had given way sometime in the past, perhaps a landslide. And you see attached to a pike in the ground that's been previously hammered in between a wedge of rocks, a rope, a single rope that hangs off of this cliffside to descend into the salt mines.
Look, before we even find out what or who else is here, perhaps we should make things clear. No, continue to progress. Shall we try to hide or illuminate our path?
It's going to be difficult for me to see if we're going into all of that darkness.
Exactly my thought. So perhaps it is best so we should illuminate our way. Lux.
The radiance casts down this muddy, rocky, jagged cliffside. It's not a sheer drop, but it's clear that if you were to step down this steep hill and you lost your footing, you would tumble to your death. This rope, which does, no check needed, seem to be properly affixed to this pike, seems to be somebody else's solution for traversing down this landscape. About 100 feet.
Obviously took that sign quite seriously.
Well, we got a rope. Oh boy.
If I might interject, I have prepared a spell for us to simply just jump down right this moment and be perfectly fine.
Oh,
I'll be.
Whoa.
I think we should do that.
He claps his hands, and the book on the hip on his belt suddenly floats into the air as it suddenly flashes open. The pages go wild. There's these tons of feathers attached to your clothing everywhere, and suddenly you start to feel a bit lighter as you have these magical feathers from all different kinds of birds, some of color, some transparent, some very small, yet magically so. You feel as light as a feather. It is for a limited time, so I recommend we jump at the moment.
Esper just turns tail towards that cliff, runs, and jumps.
Excellent.
As you see Esper run and jump, Nihilus, there's some strange unintended effect here. As the feathers, they attach and they enrapture everybody, and perhaps that's comforting and peaceful, and you see as Esper begins to float down, but there's something else strange. These feathers, though they look like these gentle feathers, Esper, you are the first to feel this as you jump, and everybody else soon to follow. It's as if each feather is this icy cold hand that grips you. While it lowers you to the ground, the only sensation that you get feeling this is not like somebody's holding me, but somebody truly terrible and vile is ferrying you to the ground gently as the feathers fall and sink into the mud. That's the feeling you get. As the last person, Dr. Glass, as you get your footing, holding your cane, touching down onto not mud anymore, but these shale, salt plateaus, you can't help but feel whatever magic Nihilus just cast, though functional, was something else entirely.
And she was already just kind of awkwardly, holding her skirt close to her. She stands still in thought after she lands and just looks at the book and then nods to herself and continues on.
The moment Trevor lands, Esper is running towards him. She's just gonna kind of hug him around the knee, and he can probably tell that she's shivering a bit. I didn't think it was going to be chilly.
Oh. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I thought, there was a little voice in the back of my head saying that might not work, so I'm just glad that we got both feet on the ground. I've been fooled like that before. It ain't fun. Some magic man come up telling me I can fly. Could not fly.
How did that feel to you, Nihilus?
I feel like I work a bit on the temperature.
Was it like when you throw out those magic things and you make them look different? Did you just accidentally make this cold?
No, all jesting aside, it does... It felt like I was creating something, and someone else finished it for me.
Oh, like the book, or like a little skull friend, maybe?
A shiver runs down your spine, Nihilus, the moment you hear that.
I don't know. A worry for another time, friends. First, let's find out where the hell we are, and what we can do here. As he tries to divert the subject.
Right, I suppose I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Something to, I think they say, unpack it later. We have to go.
You shine that light of yours, Nihilus, into this bottom plateau. In the center, there's this rusted metal workman's building. You can see right outside of it, there's this old machine mounted to the wall with a lever on it. Dr. Glass, you see that spectral, ephemeral miner walking towards this machine. You see as a hand goes up and grabs onto this lever, and though you don't see the lever itself move, you see the gesture of punching a card as if he's going to work, and he steps into the building.
Did anyone else see that, my friends?
Did Esper?
So now might be a good time. Though nobody else saw it in the beginning, Dr. Glass, with that same ability that you have to communicate, you can now, if you like, do two things with your power as it continues to grow. First, you can direct your telepathic speaking to multiple people at the same time, as long as they are in your group.
Nice.
And you can share what you see live. Anything you're seeing in the physical world, you can allow those who trust you around you to perceive the same thing that you do.
I think she finds out she has that ability because of the shock of realizing she is seeing a ghost. She very badly wants it to not just be her seeing it, because she still doesn't know what it means that she was brought back from the dead. You know, she's being like, please everyone see this in her mind. And so they do.
And you see as this miner in the last second steps through the door of the building, as if he's just going to work.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, wait. No, I see it. I see something.
Good.
You as well, Trevor. As per you two, I see something for sure.
Are you feeling okay?
Thank you. Yes, I think so. I think we're seeing a ghost or an echo.
I'm used to it when it's me that sees the weird things, but it makes me worry when you are.
Dr. Glass looks at her, stricken, completely unused to people talking to her that way. You know, she's the one who talks to people that way, she's speechless for a moment. Yes, of course. Yes, of course, Esper. Thank you.
And maybe, Trevor, you notice this look in Dr. Glass's eye, because I imagine, Dr. Glass, you'd feel your cane. It has a want. It feels a draw. If you remember when it fell and it hit that orb, that dropped the orb off the table that night, that you had that profound experience of seeing all of those possibilities, that emptiness that ensued, that made Esper sick, that made your cane feel more empty. There's a draw to fill it, Dr. Glass. And Trevor, you see as she looks down at her cane.
Doc, your cane. It's the cane. It's got to be the void, right? The void's doing this, making ghosts walk. Can this thing hear me? He's gonna yell at the ghost.
It's a soul. It's I suppose, quite literally, a lost soul, and my aunt was right about what I'm for. I suppose I'm supposed to guide it. It's the afterlife, that's what she always said. A night jar. And she steps towards it and very experimentally, with her mind, sort of gently tugs at the ghost she sees, tugs it towards the cane.
You see as Dr. Glass walks towards this building, and you open the door. It's a little stuck as you knock off the rust, and it scrapes open. And stepping in, you feel the presence of your cane more now than before. And you see the hard hat being hung on the wall. You see some tools being rummaged. This soul, it feels lost. What do you do, Dr. Glass?
I don't know if I can speak. She would try to speak to it mentally if just the act of tugging doesn't do anything. She would mentally say, "Have you lost your way? Have you lost your way?"
The echoes of your psychic energy float through the room, and they impact nothing. Though, holding this cane of yours, you feel as though you could make that connection, even if for a brief moment, if only you were able to connect your cane's endless void to this lost soul. And maybe for a brief moment, you'd be able to connect with it.
Esper, come here.
Yes.
And she's not totally sure why, but she just knows that Esper and her cane have She's still not sure if it's Esper and her cane have the reverse ends of the magnet, or if they're the same end of the magnet, and she herself is She just feels like it's good to have Esper there. Certainly couldn't hurt. And it takes her a second because that ability she used of the cane, what she called the nocturne, she's only used it aggressively so far. She used it once against Mordecai. She thought of it the first time as like a ray, and she's visualizing it as the hand now. That psychic pulse, but reaching out to this spirit to pull it into the cane.
Esper, you notice as this happened, you feel that cane, its endless void of consumption. You feel a similarity. You feel that this could just as easily be you, the tool being used, but it's not. As the cane gets raised, this soul, for the first time, it stops. He lets go of the pickaxe. He stands upright and turns his head to look at you, Dr. Glass. But I have work. But I have work.
You've worked for so long. I would like to send you home to rest. To rest. To rest.
Home.
To rest.
I like home. The mind's maddening. I can go. And he looks down towards the cane, and while you see your cane, his eyes are wide. He has this profound sense of incredible amazement as he looks down, as if he's looking at something entirely different. I'll go. Go. He takes a step forward. And one more. As he puts his hand through the cane, and his body, it turns into sand. This black infinite sand as it pours into the cane. And for that moment, you feel that infinite waterfall that flows in bear just a slight amount of impotence. Not as much as last time when you were able to use that orb, but with enough of this, you may be able to use the orb again.
That was wild.
And does she feel where the soul went?
Now this is going to be an insight check. And that's going to be with advantage, with a DC of 18. And you can get help from everybody however they can if you want.
Esper's going to reach up and she can't get to the top of it, but she's going to wrap her fingers around the cane as well.
Interesting.
There's that nugget of I'm along with Glass. As small as he has it, he does have compassion for scant few people, but he contributes that to Glass's will, as for the moment they are one.
In the source testimonium, there was once a saint many, many eons ago called Jonas. Jonas, he was a well-respected man because he had a particular gift that he could see the verloren zielen, which essentially meant the lost souls. I never really understood what it was meant with the verloren until I saw this just now through your eyes.
And that's guidance you're adding?
Yes.
And Trevor, your assistance, is there a technical effect besides the emotional one?
I think whether intentional or unintentional, Trevor is trying to use the help action in this check.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to say this. There is a secret DC. You're going to roll with double advantage 3 times with guidance, and that DC is going to be a 24. Go ahead and make the roll.
Altogether, with a 4 from the guidance, a 4 out of 4, that is a 30 insight.
That's how it's done, baby.
That's fucking teamwork.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nihilus, you recount your guiding words as you put your hand on Dr. Glass's shoulder. Trevor, you too provide your assistance. You connect with Dr. Glass in a profound way, putting your hand on her shoulder as well. And Esper, you stand close, feeling the energies from the cane. And it's as if Dr. Glass and Esper and Nihilus and Trevor, for the first time, you share an experience that sometimes is exclusive to Esper. As you look down towards the cane, you see it for what it truly is. You don't see a cane, you see an endless black void. As you remove yourself from your body, as you feel the energies, you too, as if being held by that rope that's being held by Nihilus, Trevor, and Dr. Glass, for the first time you feel it's safe to let yourself float into it if you so choose. Would you like to?
I can feel them around me still.
Their presence is security, and you know that this rope is immutable.
It is only with that certainty and that feeling of assurance and safety given from them, Esper will do it.
As your spirit floats from your body and you descend into this infinite void, you see the slow footsteps of this miner as he walks towards something that, while yet you can still not see, you can only assume with the happiness on his face. You see him mime the gesture of a hug, and you see him step and ephemerate into that blackness in the distance. You feel the space that you're in. It's infinite yet sleepless. It's you. It's your experience. It's how you feel every day, being up for hours and never catching a wink. As you look up, you see the world around you, but through blurred vision. Time is slow. Dr. Glass, she holds the cane and looks down towards it. Nihilus and Trevor look towards her, you can feel their essence, their energies. Well, not quite. Because you sense that friendly guidance, that friendly radiance from Nihilus and Trevor. You sense nothing from Dr. Glass. You can pull yourself out, or do something else.
If Esper can't feel Dr. Glass, Esper's first thought is, where is Dr. Glass?
You feel as though it could be filled with souls of all kinds, though right now you sense the presence of only one, this miner. And you know that Dr. Glass isn't here, but she could be out there. In the fisheye view that is the entire world around you, you recognize that something from Dr. Glass is lost.
I think that's the point where Esper becomes overwhelmed and she starts to pull herself with a bit of a frantic gesture or like the mental image of herself trying to claw her way back. She is pulling away from this.
If you've ever had a sleep terror, that feeling of shaking your head, trying to wake up, and transitioning to that very slow movement of your head in the real world, Esper, you feel yourself come back, and just as gently as you floated in, you feel yourself come awake as that slowed time in a blink has ended, and everybody felt and experienced what Esper just did.
The miner, then.
First, your shared mental capacity, now Esper's shared gift. Is it this place or something else happening?
Is that you've talked about the Nexus? Was that it?
Dr. Glass, you know this space to be the beyond. In case you were thinking of an answer, you know this space to be the infinite beyond.
Just processing. So, she feels that she did in fact send that soul to its rightful afterlife, as much as that exists.
Yes, though you also recognize, given Esper's feeling, that soul somehow still remains with you. It's in your cane. It's a part of it now.
Isadora didn't have a religious upbringing, really just the opposite. So even though her aunt raised her to believe that she was sort of an instrument of the afterlife, she doesn't actually have a clear concept of the afterlife. She's realizing right now. So do you know how she and I should feel about that?
Yes.
You said we saw the soul giving an embrace. I mean, is this the last stop?
Would tethered but safe work?
In the stories that your aunt would tell you, a depiction, perhaps metaphorical, of a river of sand. Who knows where the afterlife might be? Your job is just to direct those who are lost to it. But the same gift that you're given to see and to guide, so too is the curse of not knowing where that might be.
Yes. The Nexus is... And she shows her the head of the cane and runs a finger over all of infinity. All of unlimited nothingness and everything.
It was like everything.
In this stone and in all of these stones.
All of the stones are pieces that are connected to this thing that you saw it too, yeah?
The room that you both have seen is made of the same material.
Trevor, he's looking over at Nihilus, and he says, I hope you know more about this than I do. What happened to him? Do you have any ideas? I just need some kind of answer. I don't know if he's somewhere else or if he's where we all go when we go.
He lifts his arm up a bit, goes up to put his hand on his shoulder, and he says, well, I believe we from the Source testimony that the afterlife is paradise. It is one's own envisioned dream of what that paradise could be. Once could be years and years of just being together with your family in a cozy cabin in the middle of the woods with some nice fireplace. For others it is riches and riches beyond the world. The afterlife is paradise. If you had a good life, if you served well, if you were a good person in your heart, if you meant well. For those of other intentions, I wish not speak with common tongue.
Okay. So that's... It could be a lot of stuff, right? It could be nice if you lived a nice life. So maybe kind of nudges over to Dr. Glass's cane. Maybe it was every port. Maybe it was any port in a storm for that guy. Maybe he didn't care how it ended so long as he got an ending.
And they're saying this, and Dr. Glass is realizing, first of all, the kind of afterlives that Nihilus just describing, definitely not the kinds that she would envision, too literal for her mind. And then she remembers what the spirit actually said to her, that this mind, where he was trapped now, was maddening. And that what she'd done was what she's spent her whole life trying to do, which was deliver him from madness and let him rest. And she stands there and starts to sob with relief. And after all this fear of what she is, that she's a monster and a fool, and that her whole life dedicating trying to help and heal people has been a laughable waste. She stands perfectly still and drops her head and sobs because her aunt was right, and she helped one soul. She helped till she freed. She got it home.
I think it was real good what you did. I think it was real good. I think that when you've been spending years, decades, maybe centuries, I don't know how old this place is, you spend that in hell, any other place is heaven to me. So I don't know your aunt. I just know what she's been doing back here. I'm sure that when we see her again, you can tell her. You can tell her what we done here.
I don't know her either, to be honest. I don't know what's going on with her, with Luminoth. Whether she really is mad. You said it again, Trevor. The mind cannot fathom a void. She always said that to me like a riddle. And why do you think that is, little Izzy? When I was a med student, obsessed over the word fathom, the technical sense of it, to measure the depth of something. We cannot find the bottom of the void. I decided she meant if we try to go too deep into it, we lose our mind. And that's what happened to her. It's my excuse, I suppose, for hiding what I was from myself. And she holds up the cane. I don't know if that was wrong, but now I think the emphasis is on void. Mind cannot comprehend a void because there's no such thing. There's something in it. Our own souls. She kind of shakes it off, shakes her head. Or I don't know, something else, something worse. There's a lot going on, isn't there?
As you shake it off, you step to the side, and finally, out of this space that you've all just had this shared experience, you feel again the wane of this old metal building, the objects and things around you, the whipping of the wind. You feel back in this place together.
I've never been good with words. So, just,
Trevor, that's not true. Not for me.
I just wanted to say, if I was to ask you who you was in a sentence, it'd be difficult to do that, right? In like 2 sentences, 3. You write a book and you wouldn't be able to cover everything. Maybe trying to find an answer to that kind of thing. Trying to figure out who everyone is. Maybe that question is the void. It's like, it's something, but it ain't nothing. And whether we find it or not, or whether not finding it is the point, I'm sure the answer will at least be, if the destination ain't satisfying, at least the walk there was interesting, right?
It certainly was that.
Perhaps it's like the number 0. It exists, but you can't subtract from it.
My goodness. That was a very interesting thing to say.
Thank you. Shall we proceed?
Trevor nods like he understands.
As you step out of the building, you and Esper walk out together first.
Are you all right, Esper?
Esper begins to nod her head, but then eventually it turns into a shake.
I know.
That was, sometimes people say, oh, that was a lot. No, that was a lot. I feel like that man is okay. He looked at peace. Something from you is missing.
I meant it before when I said that I died.
Did it take a part of you away? part that you don't normally realize is there?
It's a good question. It could be, in a sense, the other way around. Perhaps I'm sort of here on loan, that part of me is where it's supposed to be. And no, I don't know what any of that means in a practical sense.
Two things. I'm a little afraid of both of them, and I don't think either makes sense much. But if I can go in once, then maybe I could do it again sometime. And maybe I can try to find what you lost. Maybe I can try to find Trevor's heart.
Oh.
I don't know. And that it scares me so much. But then Trevor said the thing that you said too, and that your aunt said. Nobody can understand the depths of the void.
I wonder very much who that man is. What he is.
The man in the room.
Yes. The hunter. Why he has so much mastery. How he started. Did he start as one of us, or is he like Luminoth?
We have to talk sometime about why what makes you and I different, but why are we the same? I don't think we have time to do it now, but I want to have that talk sometime with you.
I have been thinking about it a bit. I know in my enclave, the Circle of Whispers, where I learned about my powers, where I met Felix and our mentor, Abelard, there were different ways to be affected by the void, the nexus. I mean, Jane has powers that aren't related to yours or mine. I don't think she had psychic abilities, but she turned into the star map that Abelard conceived. Faust collected special individuals. I think the void affects people, endows people, infuses people.
I hate to say it, but if we can get our hands on Faust and not kill him right away, it might be useful. He has to know something.
It might be fun to make that bird sing.
Esper, as intently in this conversation, you take one more step along the path towards the mines, and you hit something. You hit a boulder. Stopping and looking up, you see that primary mine, the largest one, it had caved in. It's completely filled with rubble. And though there are other entrances that you can take as you prefer to enter, with your passive perception, you see a leather strap on the ground that strikes familiar to you.
She's gonna reach down and pick it up, and I assume it looks like it's not as old as the mines here around here. It doesn't look as old as most of the gear.
No, and as you catch up, Nihilus, with your passive investigation, you can tell this leather strap is covered with a dusting of fresh salt, as if this mine could have caved recently. Esper, as you raise it, you see a small metal tag attached to this leather strap.
No.
It says Bandit.
Darn it.
Dog colored. Is it his? And Esper's reaching it up towards Nihilus and putting the tag in particular on display towards him.
It's encrusted in salt. That's the one bandit from the one Vander we know.
No. Vander, of all people, Vander knows how to survive.
Esper needs to look at this cave-in. Loose rocks, how firmly compacted are these stones?
As you look in the crevices and craggles of this sheer destruction that has happened, it's loosely compact, but these stones are boulders, and even Trevor, with all his might, many of which he would not be able to lift by normal means. It's the rubble, as you peer into the gaps and crevices, seems to extend for a large distance. This whole major mine seems to have collapsed in.
No.
And if Bandit, Abigail, and Vander are in there, they're in there.
We have to find a way around.
Yeah, and detect thoughts doesn't work through 2 feet of rock, so I'm not gonna try to use that to detect sentient thought.
Don't know what's on the other side. There's got to be another way in.
You see, Esper, the various small entrances around this entire rock face. There's many ways in. Who knows if they connect, but maybe they do.
To try.
Well,
I could try to shatter them, I suppose. It might injure someone on the other side.
it could create a larger incaping,
You're right.
even more rocks tumbling.
You're right.
Let's just pick one of these small ones and...
Is there some other... I mean, it's mine, right? There's tunnels all over these parts. Oh. Stuff connecting to other stuff. With the collar here, it means they moved, or at least he moved. Can we try and... You see as he's trying to kind of shift in vain one of these boulders ahead of him. He goes, we was going down here anyway. We should... The only way out is through. We got to go through. We got to go
Yes.
deeper in and find some other back way somewhere.
It doesn't stop what we needed to do. It's just I feel like we need to do it a little faster.
You could give me a moment. I could find out where Bandit is.
Just shoves the collar towards him.
When it comes to animals or plants, that's my expertise from back in Kernstone. Strumstem, Strandstrumsk, Vinningra. Specifically, as Bandit.
The ground beneath you becomes ever present. You notice it. You notice the earth, the rocks. You almost feel like a cadaver in a coffin as you notice the worms that wriggle around, and you chase that energy of life all the way deeper into this cave. And somewhere far in its ridges, tunnels, and crevices, you can hear through the earth, through the critters and bugs and rot within it, you can hear the whimper of a dog. Somewhere deep in those mines, straight ahead, and a little bit far.
They're down there. Not in a good state. They are deep, far down.
Let's go. Let's go then.
I agree. Let's skedaddle.
As we do, keep a fair intelligence warning. They came here quicker than we did, and not a lot of time has passed since these caves have collapsed on itself, and they are injured. And I fear there must be more. I don't know if they collapsed it themselves or something collapsed on it. Keep in mind as we venture forward.
Vander, he's way more careful than us, and I doubt he would have caused something like this. So either these mines is especially fragile, or you weren't alone.
Somebody smarter than me just pick a door and we can go. I would just pick one at random.
As Nihilus picks the one he guesses has the closest proximity together with his spell.
Just up a small hill, there's another entrance. And you go. Together as a group, you make your way into these abandoned, old salt mines. You can see the striations on the carved walls, rings and layers of salt in between layers of clay. If you touch the wall, portions of it are soft, and portions are sharp like glass. Your footsteps, they echo down those long corridors, rails of old mine carts in the center. And as you make your way from the entrance, the light, it gets dark, but you have the light of Nihilus's shield. It illuminates these passages.
Let me know if that light starts to feel like it's not enough.
I'll let you know.
I also have the echo light if we need it.
Esper's going to put on their night vision novas.
Dr. Glass, you have the echo light. Esper, you put on your night vision novas, these abstract, large mechanical glasses that let you see in the dark. And all of you, independently, but at the same time, notice something weird. You feel a rumble of this mountain, like an earthquake but distant. And as you look down these endless passages with just blackness on the other side, for a moment you can swear that you feel the rumble change its resonance as the walls of these caverns expand and contract, almost like the mountain itself is breathing. This feeling comes to you just a fraction of a second before you hear an insidious and dark rumble start to emanate through these caverns. You hear the crumbling of rock above you. The mountain is shifting in your vicinity. And as it does so, you can't help but feel the intentionality of it all, as I need you to make Dr. Glass and Nihilus a strength saving throw. Trevor and Esper, an intelligence saving throw.
That is intentional.
This feels classist.
That is nasty.
Is this finally where the DM says, rocks fall on you, you die?
That is a dirty 1 for Dr. Glass, because I rolled a 4.
Hell yeah.
Before we hear the rest, let me quickly give you the DCs. There are different outcomes based on your roll. A 1 bears a special outcome. A 20 or above bears a special outcome. A 2 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and 16 to 19 all as well have special outcomes.
Well, hot dog.
So, how's that 2 to 5 thing going?
Yeah, and then Esper and us are both in the 6 to 10 range.
This is where min-maxers get their comeuppance.
Suffer.
Yes. The mountain is shifting beneath your feet. You feel as the earth pulls apart and compresses, almost like breathing as the rocks shift beneath you. You see in the distance the tunnel, it immediately starts to crumble. Almost feels intentional as this wave of rock begins rumbling its way towards you. This wave of crumbling earth starts chasing you through these tunnels. Now, Dr. Glass will get to you last as Esper and Trevor. There's something about this. It's targeting you. These rocks, they fall in front of you the moment you take one direction. You shift and they fall in front of you again. You can't help the intentionality of it. You can't help that you feel you're trying to be outsmarted by this mountain. And because you both rolled the same number, you are able to run towards one of the caverns that protrude to the left together as rocks fall around you as you're slammed from left to right. And the crumbling stops just as you breach this vacant cavern. Nihilus, you run in a different direction. Immediately, you're separated with the first boulder that falls. Right in front of you, separating you from Dr. Glass, Trevor, and Esper. You run down one of the other corridors as the rocks chase you, and the last one that falls, it slams you in the back, humbling you onto the ground. As I need you to take 2 points of exhaustion and 25% of your health and damage. Trevor and Esper, being battered by these rocks as you ran, you take 1 point of exhaustion and 10% of your health as damage. Dr. Glass, this happens so quickly. Immediately when the rocks fall, you lose sight of Trevor and Esper, and you lose sight of Nihilus. It's all crumbling around you. What are you doing?
Dying, probably.
Or, in case you prefer not to die.
Since I am a genius, I probably will try to talk to the mountain with my mind.
In this moment, as rocks are crumbling around you, taking pause, even for a brief second, you reach out to the mountain or anything around you that will listen.
Stop that.
Genius level.
Sometimes as a DM, I'm just like, okay, what do I do here?
Sometimes as a player, you're like that as well.
Yep.
Let her seduce the boulder.
Let her seduce the mountain. I understand.
She showed the little ankle. Glass beats rock.
You feel your mind reach out to anything around you that will listen, and a boulder falls beside you. It knocks you to the left. You try to reach out again as it shakes your focus, and in this moment, you feel being toyed with as a boulder falls behind you, pushing you forward, almost as if the mountain is telling you to run. Having reached out to the mountain, you sense the comedy of it all.
All right. If you want to see a lady with a cane run, here we go. And she runs.
You do your best to run, and these boulders, they continue to fall, each one striking you hard. You're battered from left to right. You're struck against the side wall as blood drips down your hand and you leave a trail along the salt-laden walls. And finally, as the rock crumbling subsides around you, one last massive boulder, as if a joke, falls from the ceiling and strikes you to the ground. I need you to take 3 points of exhaustion and 50% of your health as damage. You hear, having been struck in the head by this massive boulder, you hear ringing in your ears. Your vision is bloodshot. You feel like you're stuck under something. And as your consciousness fades in and out, almost like that time that Felix had subsumed your mind on her royal rose, you see in the distance, in this tunnel that's dark around you, the one thing you can see is ephemeral. Just like the miner, you see yourself turn, first looking you in the eye, and rounding the corner around the dark passages of the mines. And that's where we'll end today's session.